Bryant Street Publishing presents Hanged by a Thread by Acf Bookens. Read for you by Kristin Price. One. For months, I had been studying the historic lay of the land by looking at the trees. I could spot, thanks to Dad's training, old homesteads by the presence of towering oaks, and I could tell where fence lines used to run by watching for the spires of cedar stretching across the fields. Sycamores told me where water was, and where it had been in the recent past, and dogwoods signaled the edges of forests and farmyards that had once been. These signs had been easiest to spot in winter. Now, though, I was torturing Sawyer on every car ride by pointing out the daffodil stems and iris fronds that were poking up along the side of the road. Clumps of the bright green bulbs hung to the root balls of trees, and alongside the lane to our own farmhouse, I'd just spotted daffodils and crocus coming up in what would be a bright swath of color for us and for our neighbors. My favorite batches of flowers, though, were the ones that came up where they seemed spontaneous, along the edges of the road, or in patches of pasture gone wild. These were the remnants of homes and families long gone. These were the bursts of sunshine they saw in the days when winter felt like it might never lift. I looked at these flowers, and urged Sawyer to, even when he literally growled at my suggestion, because these were the things that tied us to the people before. And that was my work, pulling the pieces of history out of the past and setting them in the now. That's how I thought of architectural salvage. And today, Sawyer and I were on the way to my newest salvage job at an old warehouse that had, in its final iteration after 100 years of use, been a small printing house for letterpress books. I'd gotten a lead about the building from a subscriber to my newsletter, where each month I told a story about a building or some aspect of history from our area, and then talked about my salvage work. My subscriber list had been growing pretty steadily as people heard about what I did, and realized I could talk about the places they loved and tell them stories they hadn't yet heard. Now I was getting a few leads off every piece, and this warehouse was the most exciting so far. The building wasn't sprawling like warehouses often are, which was good because I didn't have a big crew. What I did have, though, was my best friend's Uncle Saul, who had decided to become a silent partner in my business. He ran his own construction crew, but as he climbed into his 70s, had decided that doing the physical...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?